Rain hammered the windows that night, the kind that makes secrets impossible to hide. Inside a mansion worth $40 million, an old woman lay helpless in a wheelchair, her breathing shallow, her body frail. And from the shadows, someone stepped forward. A woman in silk. Beautiful, elegant, trusted. She held a silver bowl filled with dirty mop water, dark and foul. She looked around. No cameras, no witnesses. Or so she thought. She lifted the bowl and poured it slowly over the old woman's head. The woman couldn't scream. She couldn't move. And in that cruel silence, someone was watching. The billionaire Groom. Her husband. And what he did next, no one in that city could ever forget. Before we go deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. His name was Marcus Sullivan, son of a janitor who became a self-made billionaire in commercial real estate. A man who rose from sleeping on gym floors and eating dollar store noodles to owning 15 properties across 3 states and having his name whispered in investment circles from Wall Street to Silicon Valley. But to his mother, Catherine Sullivan, he was still little Marcus, her firstborn, her reason for every sacrifice. Marcus was wealthy, but he was kind. One of those rare men who remembered where he came from. He never forgot the nights his mother worked double shifts cleaning office buildings so he could afford college textbooks. He never forgot her calloused hands or the way she smiled through exhaustion. Enter Lauren Hayes. A woman of grace and poise, or so everyone believed. She worked as a senior event coordinator for one of the most exclusive firms in the city. She was the one who managed Marcus's annual charity gala, an event that raised millions for underprivileged youth. Lauren had a soft smile, a gentle voice. She listened when Marcus spoke about his dreams, his fears, his mother. She made him feel understood in ways he'd never felt before. Their love story looked like a fairy tale, a self-made billionaire and a graceful woman who seemed to share his values. The wedding was covered by lifestyle magazines. The reception was attended by mayors, investors, and influencers. Everyone clapped, everyone celebrated. But while the world cheered, someone watched quietly. Catherine. And a mother knows. Catherine saw something behind Lauren's eyes. A coldness that appeared when no one else was looking. A hunger that wasn't for love, but for access, for status, for control. She tried to warn her son. Love can cloud your vision, Marcus. Look again. Look slowly. Not all smiles come from the heart. But love is a fog, and Marcus was already lost inside it. They married. The mansion doors opened, expensive dinners, marble hallways, soft music at night, but also walls that kept secrets. 18 months after the wedding, Catherine fell ill. Her body began to betray her. The once strong woman who had scrubbed floors and lifted boxes could no longer stand. Doctors said it was progressive neurological degeneration. She would need full-time care. Marcus didn't hesitate. He moved her into the mansion. A mother's final years should be spent near her son, he thought. He hired private nurses. He checked on her every morning before work and every evening when he returned. He made sure she had everything she needed. But Lauren, she smiled when Marcus was watching, but when he left the room, her face turned to stone. She hated Catherine's presence. To her, Catherine was a constant reminder that the mansion, the wealth, the life, was never truly hers alone. It was built on the back of a janitor's sacrifices, and Lauren despised that truth. One morning, the head nurse quit. No explanation, no notice, just gone. Marcus was confused, then another nurse left, then another. 3 nurses in 2 months. Marcus asked Lauren if she knew why. "Maybe your mother is difficult," she said calmly. "Old people can be demanding. You know how it is." But something felt wrong. Marcus loved his mother. He knew her character. Demanding wasn't a word anyone who truly knew Catherine would use. And then that night happened. The rain, the bowl, the whisper. Marcus had come home early from a business trip. His flight landed 2 hours ahead of schedule. He didn't call ahead. He simply walked into his own home quietly, planning to surprise Lauren with flowers. But as he walked down the hallway toward his mother's room, he heard something. A voice, cold, cruel. "You're the reason I have to pretend every single day." You're the reason I'm stuck in this house playing nice. If you weren't here, my life would be perfect." Marcus froze. He moved closer to the doorway and looked through the crack. What he saw made his heart stop. Lauren stood over his mother with a silver bowl in her hands. Inside was dirty mop water, greasy and foul-smelling. Catherine was asleep in her wheelchair, her head tilted to the side, defenseless. Lauren looked around, then she poured it, slowly, over Catherine's head. The water soaked her hair, ran down her face, dripped onto her clothes. Catherine stirred but couldn't speak. Her voice had been stolen by the illness. She could only whimper. Lauren wiped her hands on a towel and whispered, "No one will believe you anyway." Marcus stood there, trembling, not with rage, with heartbreak. He realized in that moment that he had married someone who wore kindness like a costume, a mask that melted in the rain. Marcus didn't rush into the room. He didn't confront her. He simply backed away, walked to his car, and sat in the dark for an hour. His hands shook. His chest felt tight. He wanted to scream. But instead, he realized that if he confronted Lauren now, she would deny it. She would twist the story. She would make him look irrational. She would claim his mother was confused, that he misunderstood, that he was being manipulated by grief. So Marcus did something most people wouldn't have the patience to do. He planned, he observed, he waited. Over the next 4 weeks, Marcus began to notice things he'd ignored before. The cook walked on eggshells when Lauren was around. The housekeepers avoided eye contact with her. The gardener who had worked for the family for 8 years requested to work only on days when Marcus was home. The house had become a kingdom of fear, and Lauren was its queen when Marcus wasn't there. So Marcus set a trap. He replaced the entire house staff, but this time with people loyal to him, people he trusted, people who had worked for his mother before he became wealthy, people who remembered where he came from. And then he did something else. He installed hidden cameras throughout the house, not in bathrooms or bedrooms, but in common areas. Cameras disguised as wall clocks, as picture frames, as decorative vases. For 30 days, Marcus watched the footage every night in his office. And what he discovered shattered him. Lauren insulted Catherine daily. She called her a burden. She mocked her inability to speak. She served her cold leftovers while she ate freshly cooked meals at the dining table. She locked Catherine's bedroom door from the outside for hours so she couldn't call for help, even though Catherine couldn't walk. She lied to Marcus about giving Catherine her medication on time. She told the staff that if anyone reported her behavior, they would be fired and blacklisted from ever working in the city again. The love story was dead. Just bones and betrayal now. But Marcus didn't cry. He didn't rage. He planned. Quietly. Carefully. Precisely. Catherine's 74th birthday was on a Saturday in late October. Marcus announced that he wanted to host a dinner in her honor. He invited family friends, distant relatives, business associates, and a few journalists who had covered his charity work. He told Lauren it would be an intimate celebration, just 20 people. Lauren glowed. She thought the night was about showcasing her as the gracious wife, the devoted daughter-in-law. She wore a custom gown. She hired a stylist. She practiced her speech about how much she loved Catherine and how honored she was to care for her. The dining room was beautiful. Candles flickered on the table, soft jazz played in the background, laughter filled the air. Catherine sat at the head of the table in her wheelchair, a small smile on her face. She didn't know what was about to happen. Neither did Lauren. After the main course, Marcus stood up. He raised a glass. "Tonight we honor my mother, a woman who sacrificed everything so I could have a future, a woman who deserves dignity, respect, and peace in her final years. And I have something to show you all." He pressed a button on a remote. Every screen in the dining room lit up. Television, tablets, phones connected to the house network. Footage began to play. The bowl, the insults, the locked doors, the cold meals, the cruelty. Frame by frame, day by day. 30 days of evidence. The room fell silent. The kind of silence that wounds. Guests gasped. Some covered their mouths. One woman began to cry. Lauren's face drained of all color. Her hands trembled. She looked at Marcus, her eyes wide with panic. "Marcus, I can explain. "No," he said calmly. "You can't." He turned to his mother. His voice softened. "Mum, this decision is yours, not mine. What do you want me to do?" Catherine looked at Lauren. Tears ran down her cheeks. Her voice was weak, barely a whisper. But everyone heard it. "Let her go, Marcus. A heart that holds no love is already its own prison." The room remained silent. Marcus nodded. He looked at Lauren. "You have 1 hour to leave this house. Take only what you came with, nothing more." Marcus divorced Lauren within 6 weeks. No scandal, no media frenzy, no public shaming. He simply ended it quietly and completely. He gave her exactly what she brought into the marriage. Nothing. Lauren left the mansion that night with a suitcase and the clothes she wore. No alimony, no settlement. The prenuptial agreement she had signed, thinking it was just a formality, protected everything. She tried to reach out to mutual friends, but no one answered her calls. She tried to get her job back, but her reputation had been quietly destroyed. Marcus never spoke publicly about what happened, but word spread. In circles where reputation is currency, Lauren's was worthless. Marcus spent the next 3 years caring for his mother. He reduced his work hours. He read to her every evening. He held her hand when she was scared. He made sure she knew every single day that she was loved. Catherine passed away peacefully in her sleep on a Tuesday morning in early spring. Marcus was holding her hand. Her last words to him were, "You did good, my boy. You did so good." At her funeral, over 300 people came. Former co-workers, neighbors, people whose lives Catherine had touched when she was still able to work, people who remembered her kindness. One man, a janitor at the hospital where Catherine used to clean, stood up during the service and said, "Miss Catherine used to buy me lunch when I couldn't afford it. She didn't know me, but she saw me, and that's rare in this world." Marcus wept, not from grief alone, but from gratitude. Gratitude that he had seen the truth in time. Gratitude that his mother spent her final years in peace. Gratitude that he chose love over illusion. 2 years after Catherine's death, Marcus remarried. This time to a woman named Angela, a school teacher who had no idea who he was when they met at a bookstore. She didn't care about his wealth, she cared about his heart. They now have a daughter. Her name is Catherine. And every night before bed, Marcus tells her stories about the grandmother she never met. About sacrifice, about strength, about the difference between appearance and truth. Because some lessons aren't taught, they're lived. And some love isn't spoken, it's shown. In the quiet moments, in the choices we make when no one is watching, in the way we treat the people who can't fight back. Marcus learned that love without integrity is just performance. And performance, no matter how beautiful, always ends when the curtain falls. Now I ask you, what would you have done? Would you have confronted Lauren immediately? Or would you have waited and gathered evidence like Marcus did? And if you were in Catherine's position, would you have forgiven? Or would you have wanted justice in a different form? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it, because these stories aren't just about other people, they're mirrors. And sometimes we need to look into them and ask ourselves, what kind of person am I when no one is watching? If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life stories that carry lessons our hearts never forget. Because some stories aren't just told, they're felt, and they stay with us long after the words fade.